What?
But we're gonna be all right. I think that's just a little request from me. Hey, hey, we are live. We are live. What up? What up? What up, peoples? What up, my dummies? Welcome to another edition of the X Podcast with your host. You know it's me, the Defiant One, Hollywood Shug. So we here. It's Saturday. We gauging the temperature, y'all, of the city. Where we at with the recent events that gone on, all the way to, us discussing what happened with George Floyd, God rest his soul, and now the situation that had happened with Jacob Blake. And, may God be with him and his family as well. And so obviously, the unrest has caused us unrest, and, it's time we're going to get a pulse of what the city's like and where we feel we're at. And to help get a gauge of that is my man. You've seen him on the show before, my cousin, my fam. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only guru, Mike Johnson. Appreciate you coming on the show, my brother.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A lot to discuss. Our city's been through a lot this last week. The country's been through a lot this last week.
This last year.
Yeah. It's a lot been going on. So I don't know. I would say let's start off with obviously the situation with Jacob and that video that we were all forced to see, and the constant threat that's been to our society of black men and women, which is this police union that's been instituted since what, 60s or how long?
Yeah,
Since the police union?
Too long, obviously.
Yeah. That we need to figure out what we're going to do with and really obviously lay some plans to some actions and not let it be words. But where do you feel as far as that's concerned? And what was your, how did you feel after seeing the video? And
Well, my first question for the video, because they always say, don't do nothing. Don't do nothing to make the police want to shoot you or whatever. And Jacob walked around that car. So my first question is, as a police officer, why did you let it get that far? Again, they always tell us how to act, but how are they supposed to act? Like, if I'm not a police officer, I don't know. So I'm asking any police officer who might watch this and want to make a comment on it. I'm legitimately asking, why would you let a man walk around the car to get to the driver's side of the car, open the door, and lean in, then you grab his shirt and you shoot him 7 times in the back? So why did you let it get that far? Why didn't you just tackle him before then, grab him up? They say if they tased him a couple of times, okay, so tase him again. Hit him with the nightstick thing. Hit him across his legs. Make him go down to the ground. It had to be something that you could have done differently besides grab him by the back of his shirt and put 7 bullets in his back. Again, where most of us come from, and I don't think this is a black thing. Black, white, whatever. You don't hit nobody from the back. Whether you swing on it with your fist, a stick, a bat, a billy club, a gun, a taser. In the back, like how big of a threat? People, they always say, don't be a threat to the police officer. How big of a threat are you when you're not facing somebody? I struggle with that. Again,
most people would say it's a cowardice move.
Right, it's a coward move. I'm not a police officer, so I don't know. They got, their job is one of the hardest jobs in the world. That's no question. I respect it, but I struggle with that. And then you got people. Who a lot of people who say, the chances of you getting hurt by a police officer is small. I don't really care about that. It doesn't matter if it's one person getting unjustly murdered or shot by the police or 1 million people. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't happen that one time. I seen Chris Rock said something the other day, or maybe said it years ago, I don't remember. But he said there's a couple of jobs in this world where we don't we can't afford to have a screw up, a fuck up in that field. A pilot, they can't tell us that some of our pilots that work for such and such airlines, some of them may decide to crash into a mountain every now and then. We can't have that. We can't have police officers who we can't have bad police officers. I'm sorry, we can't. We just can't. So it all, you said it earlier, it all starts with the reform of the police. Nobody with common sense is saying get rid of police officers. That's just stupid. So we know we need police officers, but we need that union needs to get redone. It needs to get destroyed and built back up because there's no consequences to the things that they do. And when there's no consequences in the things that you do, you're liable to do whatever the heck you want to do when there's no consequences. If we all knew I could go in this bank and steal $1 million a month out of this bank without going to jail, we probably ought to do it. So if there's no consequences to the things that you could do, then you're gonna keep doing it. And then the racial aspect of it, people say, is they killing more black people, whatever, more white people, whatever. That's not the point. The point is that they're doing it, and it seems like, and again, perception is what runs this world. Perception. Let's keep it real. So the perception is that it's easier with a black person. It's a lot easier. I mean, look what happened to that guy who killed that white woman that was from Australia. Compared to some of these other police officers who, they may even drop the case against the guy who killed George Floyd because they want to bring up drugs. That's the other problem with the system. Now they bring up everything we do wrong when we get in trouble with the police. But you go back to that little white boy who killed that girl. Who raped that girl years ago. They talked about how great he can be when he was going through his trial, where he ended up getting 6 months probation or whatever it is, no jail time for raping a girl behind a garbage can. No jail time for raping a girl behind a garbage can, a knocked out girl behind a garbage can. But they, on the news, no matter where you look, they talked about how great he could have been. If he beat this case, a Stanford student, he's going to be great, blah, 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 blah. But with George Floyd or Jacob Blake or whoever else, they want to talk about everything negative about that person. So again, it's a system that's destroying us, and it's bigger than one or two people. It's a big problem. We all talk about it all the time. We got to have different conversations with our kids versus other people.
It's always been that way, and going back to, I'd say, 80s, like even for me growing up, we've been built and conditioned a certain way when it was to look at the police. Whenever it was, because again, this is not a situation, you and I argue off the air a lot about, how often this is happening, if it's happening more nowadays than before, and if it's just been hidden because we didn't have internet or more media or more cameras and things, places. Back in the day when I was growing up, whenever it was a situation of hearing the police possibly having to beat down somebody or kill somebody, the immediate assumption that we had in our community was, oh, well, what did they do?
Yeah.
What did that person, the victim or whatever, do? Because he had to do something. Yeah. There's no way the police would have killed him or beat him that way if he didn't do something. Even with the Rodney King situation. But there's always been something when it's video and when it's outright in your face that's made that much of a difference. It's unfortunate because we know there's plenty of other unsolved cases and things that have happened, but this is something that's been going on for years, and
forever.
We've been conditioned to it. Our eyes are open to it. Colin tried to bring our eyes open to it years ago. We didn't want to listen. Every time stuff happened, put on nice little band-aids until the next situation happened.
Or they distract us with something.
So, what do you think at this point the answer is? We know that we've, NBA and certain, celebrities and sports athletes and whatnot have taken some stance and did some boycotting and things like that. We've had some more protests and things like that. Where do you think we're going with those types of things? And are they truly? Was a lot of people say there's no need to protest. We, heard people come out and mention that as well. Like it's not doing anything. We're tired of being Mr. Nice Guy after a while. We obviously know people are fed up. So where do you think?
I see it both
the
ways.
the even where do you meet in the middle? How do you offset the situation?
I see it both ways, but honestly, marching, protesting, slogans, hashtags, T-shirts, whatever, has been going on for years, and they still doing the same thing to us. Again, the system. I'm not talking about individual races, because I've said it 1,000 times. You've heard me say it. A lot of people heard me say I don't care about the racist that's riding up and down the street with a Confederate flag, hollering, I hate niggers, I hate gays, I hate lesbians, I hate
Why not?
Mexicans. I don't care about them. Again, because they don't mean anything. It's more of a joke to me. Everybody is gonna hate somebody for whatever reason. We all got some type of hatred for somebody else in our blood, in our beings, regardless of what it's for. Whether it's about their race, their gender, their class. That's probably as big of an issue as anything in our country.
In our community.
In our community. And it's where you are financially. That's a big thing. So that doesn't bother me. I remember years ago, my cousin and I, and my uncle who's no longer here, we were riding back then we were back home in Indiana. In the neighborhood we were riding in, it was mostly white people in the neighborhood. We were riding around one night having a good time, just riding. And these guys rode by us with this big flag, and they yelled out, "We hate the N-word." They yelled it out, and we just stood and we laughed about it. My cousin Chris took a beer can that he was drinking and he threw it at him. I don't condone violence. Let me throw that out there. We were young, but it was a joke to us because it doesn't bother me because they don't do anything. My problem is the systematic destruction of us from the outside and the inside. I struggle with that because, I talked about this with you privately, about a couple, a mixed couple, black mother, white father, and I believe it was 2 mixed kids. And they had wanted to get their home appraised. I forgot what city, but it was a nice neighborhood. They got their home appraised. They got appraised for $330,000. They did some investigation. They found out that the neighborhood, it was a little over $400,000, almost $500,000 for a lot. So they got their house reappraised, and this time they removed any semblance of black people living in the house, whether it was pictures of the kids, whether it was pictures of the wife, whether it was some culture flags or statues, whatever.
It's all of it
in their house. They took out anything in their house that could say black people live in this house. And the only person that was home when the appraiser came was the husband. It was a white man. The wife and the kids left. Their house got reappraised for 23% more than the 330. I think it was like 465 or something like that. It got appraised for more money.
just on account of that.
Because of that. Now maybe it's a different appraiser. I don't know, but just the look of it. Just look at it.
Yeah. Perception is reality.
In sports, we always talk about the eye test. What does the eye test tell? So the eye test tell me that there's a problem. There's a problem. It's harder for us to get loans. Jobs. I've had a debate with a cousin of mine a lot about jobs, and he said I never had a problem getting a job. True, especially in where we live. But where's your income, your salary on that job? In most cases, somebody doing the same job as you with the same skill set as you, and they are of European descent, they're white people, they're probably going to make more money than you. Women have been fighting that same battle when it comes to women versus men. So it's a problem with the system. It's a problem with the system, and that's the part that I struggle with. I don't care about individual racism. That's stupid and funny to me. Like, you just retarded. I hate to use the word retarded. I'm sorry. You just mentally challenged. There's something wrong with you if you just hate somebody because of their color.
So, with there's other discrepancies as well. We got, like you said, the you're, the opposite part can make more money than you in the same position. You could even have a degree. They're still going to make more just because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
If there was 1 million millionaires in the world, I mean, I know you probably know the list, but if there's 1 million, how many of them do you figure are by different?
I mean, if you take the top 20 richest people in America,
Oh, 20. Let's
not
20.
talk about the world. Let's just talk about our walls.
Yep.
You take the top 20 richest people in America, I'm 99% sure they're probably all white. Maybe. I don't know right off the top of my head.
But it would be less than you can count on your hand.
I guarantee you it's probably 75% to 100% are white.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and that goes from long history of dominance. It was a beautiful thing I saw earlier today, and this young black woman broke it down in the game of Monopoly. She said, the way America is set up, you take a game of Monopoly, you take a black person and you take a white person, and they play a game of Monopoly. The first 400 times around that board, that black person gets nothing for all the things that they touch. All the way around that board, the community chess cards that they pick, the chance, the things that they land on, they collect, they don't get none of that. It goes to that white person. All the work that person's doing, going around that board that 400 times, goes to that white person. So then the next 50 times around the board,
now they get to play.
Right, now they get to play.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that they gather the next 50 times, eventually, if the white person that's playing the game with them decides you get too many hotels on that property and too many houses on that property, I'm just going to knock it off. And so now we got to start from scratch again.
Kind of similar to the
Jim Crow. It's a civil rights bill. No, when they blew up Black Wall Street, Rosewood, all that. So that's the next 50 times. Mm-hmm. So now finally we get to go around again. After that 450 times of pure hell, mm-hmm. we get to go around again. But now we're 450 times around the board behind the white person we playing against. They done collected all the money from themselves, all the money from us. They done destroyed our houses, our hotels. Now we get to keep our stuff, but we so far behind, we're going to never catch up. And I thought that was brilliant the way she broke it down with the Monopoly game. And that's true. We are so far behind, we're never going to really catch up, honestly. But what we ask is like the Black Wall Street. Let us have our own stuff without tearing it up and getting mad at us. Like I just read today, 19 families in a city pooled their money and bought 90 acres of land. About 90 acres of land for their people, for black people. And let's see how long they let us keep that, though. Let's see how long they let them keep it. Hopefully they let them keep it forever. But, the history of our country, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
So let's transition again real quick to another situation. You do, based on a lot of things and, people that we have in office, we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time talking on politics or anything, but just the issue of voting, and how much of a cause it is. You got a lot of people out here, that are definitely upset at the leader we have in office. And, from what I'm hearing, the pulse I'm getting is that, we coming out in drones, especially, our culture.
We said that last time.
But yeah, as I said, been there, done that. And a lot of people don't know enough about politics to voice an opinion. A lot of people think, based on the way the voting system is set up with electorals and things like that, their vote really doesn't matter anyway, so why should I? What is your opinion as far as if it's a true benefit, if it's not, or whether people should, where are you at with that? What's your opinion in that?
Well, the people who tend to believe that their vote don't count, it's hard for you to deny that from them. It's hard to fight that. Like, I'm not one of those people that believe your vote don't count. I'm not. I do think it counts. It's weird how it counts. The Electoral College, No, you read about it, you study it, make sure you understand it. It's weird though, because if you take the last election, Hillary won the popular vote by 3 million, which I think may have been a record or close to a record. But she's not the president of the United States because he won in those states that get the most electoral votes. So I'm not a fan of that. I've never been a fan of that, no matter who wins it. Republican, Democrat, black, white, independent, I really don't care. I've never been a fan of it. Every other major election in our country is based on a popular vote except the president. And I find it weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think our vote counts, but I think it counts more in certain areas. That's the part that we have to understand, because again, the electoral, whenever states had the most votes, I know Pennsylvania probably one of them. I don't know them off the top of my head, but those states, your vote counts a little bit more. Because if your vote didn't count, my argument to the people who say your vote don't count, if your vote didn't count, then why are they trying so hard to stop people from voting? Why is it voter suppression is what they call it? And they trying to stop the mail-in votes, and they shutting down polling places, and most of the polling places that they shut down is in the black communities, in minority communities. So if your vote didn't count, then why would they be trying so hard unless it's all a big cover-up? And again, with our country, it may be. You never know. But it's I don't know. I just feel if you don't vote at all, then you should be that person that never opens your mouth about anything. That's how I feel about it. If you don't vote at all,
What if you don't know enough about voting?
then I got a problem with that too. If you over the age of, what's the legal age of voting?
18?
So you should know. You should know. That
Fair
way,
enough.
that way you can
Should
make an
know.
informed decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear the excuse that you don't know enough about it. No, that's
Some people
inexcusable.
just don't care to know.
That's inexcusable though. And again, if you're gonna be that person, that's fine. But then shut up. You shouldn't be talking about Black Lives Matter or free this or equal rights or whatever. You shouldn't complain about anything because you don't think anything matters anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your vote don't count. I don't care. So then you don't care. So shut up. Ain't no discussion. You shouldn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
The only people that should be debating this or arguing this point or yelling and fighting about this is people that actually care. If you don't care, fine. Shut up. That's what I say to people like that. You got to be somewhere. You got to care.
I think a lot of the, people, of course, are misled, especially those that don't know a lot about politics and thinking the president has a lot more power than he does. And, obviously we know he can veto laws and everything, but he's obviously not what makes the world go round and makes all the decisions. You just might hear some things from his mouth, but he's not, he's no emperor, he's no leader. He there's people that he answers to, and those people need to be reached to make a difference. That's where the money's at. That's where the crop at. That's who's really making decisions and allowing things like this to happen. And within Congress, within certain other parts of your own communities and stuff, people will go out in mass to go vote for the president. But what about the people in your own city? In your own state, or your own Congress, or your own legislature? You do got people in place that's in for 30. The terms is too long. Like, there's so much rewriting things that has to be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, an 8-year term for a president, but then you got a 30-year term for Congress. Nothing's been done, and they're supposed to be, and nothing's been done. As long as, eventually there has to be a way where they can be voted out, and if not, then or
no,
something.
they can't be voted out. They're just never going to lose. It should just be the term. It should be 8 years or whatever. If the president 8 years, then it should be 8 years across the board. It should be 8 years across the board. If you've been your state senator, congressman, or whatever for 8 years, you for 4 years, then you win that election. But whatever it is, if you keep winning, after the first 2 terms, or 3 terms, or whatever total of 8 years gives you, then your time should be over with. We got congressmen and stuff that's been in there for 30, 40 years. When they started off being congressmen, we was still sitting in the back of the bus, and they still running the state.
So let me ask you this: do you think this question? So you think if people did not go out and not give a dang about voting, let's just say hypothetically the person in power is still in power for another 4, do you think there's a chance that any change happens as far as any police reform, union reform, if he is still in power? Or if he happens to still be reelected, we all know who we're talking about, but if he happens to get reelected, is there a chance that anything that we're trying to fight for doesn't
I don't
work?
think he will. I honestly don't think he will at all, because I think that's his stick. I think that's what I think he found he could be more successful. And again, success for him, I think. And my personal opinion, I don't want nobody commenting and saying I'm stupid or whatever. My personal opinion is that his goal of winning or being a successful person in his position is simply just winning that re-election. People say what they like about him is he's a fighter. He want to fight. He want to win. I think that's what he wants.
That's what's driving.
Whether or not it's a successful 4 years in everybody's eyes, it doesn't matter to him. But I think that's not just his problem, though. I think that's our problem, American politics as a whole. Because whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, the problem, in my opinion, is that they just want to please those people. I think Democrats only want to please Democrats. I think Republicans only want to please Republicans. And I think that's the problem in our country. Because if your goal as the president or any position of power that you're in politics, your goal should be to make more people happy than just the people you know that loves you. You know, like the guy that's in office now, he know there's a strong demographic of a certain amount of people that love him. That love him. That's all he cares about.
So with that being said, where people would think, well, he's outnumbered with everybody he has so much more support, is it okay for people to go out and say, well, I'm going to just vote for this person because they're black, or I'm going to vote for this person because they're a woman, or I'm going to vote for this person
well,
because
I don't think nobody should vote for those reasons. Whether I just want to vote because they're black, or just because they're a woman, or just because they're a Democrat, or just because they're a Republican. I voted across party lines my whole life, and I probably would have voted Republican this time if it wasn't for the idiot that we have. And again, a lot of people say he's racist. Even if he is, I don't care about that. I don't care about that because I think he's an idiot more than anything else. So I just want to throw that out there. That's just my personal opinion. I think he's an idiot. But if you should just vote because it's a Democrat, or just because it's a Republican and that's what you was raised on and that's what you've always done, I think you should do your research and figure out what's best. But again, I think overall, our whole problem, and it ain't just start with this guy, our whole problem is that every politician just wants to please their circle. And I think that's the problem. If you try to please everybody, I think you got a better chance. It got to be a way to come up with a very good health care plan that 60%, 70% of the country alike versus just your 50% that you want. There got to be police reform that'll please everybody. The black man, the white man, the Asian, whatever, the Latino, whatever. There should be something that could please the majority of everybody, not just the majority of one group,
right,
but the majority of everybody. Again, same with education. Same with everything. It got to be something. You can't just tell me that. You can't tell me that with all these smart people we got in this country. You can't tell me that they can't figure it out when they get in them rooms and they facing each other. Republicans on this side, and Democrats on this side, and Independents down the middle. You can't tell me with all that brain power and all that power in that room that y'all can't figure that out. But the problem is Democrats only care about Democrats. Republicans only care about Republicans. That's the problem. And it's the same way with the way we vote. I talked to a person, a black Republican, and I was like, have the Republicans done anything wrong? And he said, no. Like, you can't tell me they ain't done nothing wrong, nothing. But you can name me 50 things the Democrat did wrong? Come on, man. Look, the coronavirus that turns into that. You ask 100 conservatives about a mask. Nope. Probably more of them gonna say no. But you ask 100 Democrats, probably most of them gonna say yes. Like, how does health turn into Republican versus Democrat?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guarantee you, I told you yesterday, I guarantee you, if the guy in the office now came outside with a mask on and wore a mask for the next 3 months, we'll see more Republicans with masks on. And if the Democrat come out with no mask, we'll probably start seeing Democrats with no mask. Because everybody just want to follow what their leader says, whether it's a Republican or the Democrat. And again, it's just my personal opinion, but it just seems weird to me that that's all everybody want to please. It's just that group. You know, if you're a teacher, you can't just please one half of your classroom. You got to try to get everybody. You're not going to get everybody. We all know that. But I would rather have 65, 75% of everybody happy versus 35, 40% of one group of people, whether it's white people, or whether it's Republicans, or whether it's black people, or whether it's Democrats, whether it's independents, whatever it is. Try to please everybody. And I think we'll have a better chance of making this country better than it is. Mm-hmm. Now, people say that America is the best country in the world. Okay. But that's only because we got a C student and everybody else got D's and F's. Why not become a B student or an A student? We got the power and the money and the means and the people to do it. But it's so divided. It's so divided. And it ain't just race. Again, it's class, money, politics. Everything is divided in this country. Like, you can't tell me that you can't. There's a problem with the police. Everybody know that. Come on. That's obvious. That's obvious. I don't care if you black, white, Mexican, Republican. You can't tell me that there's not a problem with the police. Come on. If you don't think it's a problem with the police, you are
nice.
Full of hate. And hate. You got a lot of hate in you. Like, you a vicious person deep down in your core. If you don't think, out of all these cases, you can run them down the line. I don't count Trayvon Martin because that dude was not a cop. But all these people that got killed by cops, Tamir Rice, this 12-year-old kid, Jacob Blake ain't dead, but him, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all these people over the years, you come, all of those were okay. You were okay with all of those. The police did nothing wrong in none of those situations. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
I'm being told by producers they gave us an extra 5 minutes to talk, and we're going to wrap it up here in about 2. But I just got one other thing. I know we was off the air. We were speaking on something, and I'm going to bring it up real quick. But we were talking about people, you know, I'm wearing, let me stand up real quick. I'm wearing a shirt here with the, as y'all can see, with the Martin Luther King and Colin Kaepernick or whatever on the knee. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Super Kush for the wonderful shirt. Y'all can get that. Get at me if you're looking for it. But anyway, you know, it was kind of like a thing to me. The man, you know, tried to tell you so. These great leaders tried to tell us and tried to lead us in the right path. And we looked at them as slow, and we looked at them as like they didn't know what they was talking about, or they had no business, you know, doing it, and they need to just shut up and stick to their sport and everything else. And I'm telling you, we should have listened. It's like way too late to apologize now. But what do you have to say? Like you were talking, you were kind of heated off the air here about you know, certain people within our own community that choose not to support our great leaders and athletes and things like that when they're trying to make change. What would you say to those guys?
I would just say, the old saying my grandmas used to tell us, is keep it in the family. You know, all these power people, all these athletes, all these entertainers, all these whoever.
Don't open your mouth when the company's around or whatever.
Right, all these, whatever. If, you know, when Kaepernick did what he did, a lot of us didn't agree with what he did. That's fine. We got that right. But a lot of those people, you know, like the Ray Lewises and all the people who got these big, huge platforms, whether it's TV, movies, sports, social media, they got these big platforms where people do listen to them and they hear them. But I think I would rather them just say no comment type of thing. You know, call Colin Kaepernick on the phone and say, hey, man, I think you could have did things a little bit different. Or maybe this or maybe that. Hear them out. But to criticize them, I think that's what they want. because they know, one of the stereotypes of our people is that we very seldom work together, we very seldom get along, we very seldom stand by each other. So I just would like to see more of that. Even if you disagree with the message that he's putting out there, we all want the same thing. We all want equal pay. We all want better education. We all want better chances at houses and student loans and loans and police reform. We all want the same thing. How we get to it may be different. And what you say, I might disagree with, but we all want to get to the same destination. We might just take a different path to get there. But what I just don't like to see him say, yeah, he was wrong for that. He was wrong for this. He was wrong for that. No. That's exactly what they want, to keep us divided like that.
We've
That's
had
exactly
such a hard time
Right,
showing any kind of solidarity.
Yeah, one of the reasons why they've been on top for as long as they have, is that they might not like each other, but they ain't gonna say it in front of everybody.
You know how to keep the business in the company.
You're gonna tell all these super trillionaires to work together to keep their need on our backs. They didn't agree on everything.
I remember my grandma whooped my ass. You talk too much with companies.
No, you keep that in the house.
You running your mouth out there about what's going on up in here, telling folks, boy, come here. That was a badass.
I struggle with a lot of those. When I turn on my Fox News or Fox Sports or ESPN or whatever, and I see that they beat that man down so bad, then it wasn't just coming from NFL owners or certain politicians. It was coming from the people that he lined up against, people that he talked to on the phone all the time, people that he ran into at sporting events and parties and all this. You just killed the man because you disagree with what he did. And I'm like, my mama used to tell me, we keep talking about that, but my mama used to tell me all the time, you always right out there. But when we come in the house, I'm gonna tell you how wrong you were. I just wish that. And again, people got the right to disagree with what he did or why he did it or how he did it. We all got different feelings on that. But I just hate the fact that they beat him down, man. Some of these prominent athletes or sports journalists or politicians hopped on TV and they just beat that man down, man. And that's one of the reasons why he didn't get a job. It wasn't just because of the white owners. He didn't get a job because he had no support from his own people either. Come on, man. There's more people.
Boycotting the NFL, ain't you?
Yeah, I boycotted it a little bit last year, but I'm boycotting it 100% this year. And again, I know it don't mean nothing in the grand scheme of things for them. And a lot of people say it don't mean nothing. And yeah, probably not. But for me, personally, I feel like I'm not giving them any more of my money. So, I've never been a guy who bought jerseys anyway, but, I'm not going to games. I'm not watching games. I'm not watching it. I didn't watch the Super Bowl last year. I'm not watching the Super Bowl. I'm not doing none of that. Because, again, whether or not I disagree with Colin Kaepernick or not, whether or not I agree with him or not, the man deserves to have a job. He deserves to have a job. People keep saying, well, it don't seem like he want one. You don't know that. If he ain't want one, he would have just said that. So quit assuming stuff. If he really wanted a job, this is what he would do. No, that's what you would do. Don't tell that man what he's supposed to do. Come on, can nobody tell that man what he's supposed to do? He ain't did nothing wrong not to get a job. That's my point. So that's crap to me. Is he good enough? He's better than at least 12, 13 starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Probably more than that if you really run down the line. I mean, would you rather have him or Baker Mayfield?
The sports thing is a whole
that's a whole
discussion.
Other conversation.
We'll get into that later. And we're being told we got to get off there, but there was some very powerful stuff, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You the man. You can come back again. Engage the pulse another time, or we can get on here and discuss some sports and stuff. Matter of fact, we got a few games to watch. They did get back to playing some, so we can definitely go and check out LeBron tonight. See him.
Yeah, that series over.
It's a wrap. Okay. Well, all right. Well,
Dame Lillard back home, so it's over.
It's a wrap. All right. Well, we out of here, you guys. Thank y'all so much for watching. Look me up on Facebook. Inbox me. I know I'm still making people's dreams come true. Inbox me with your job, with your businesses and your business ideas so I can help you make your dreams come true. And also, please subscribe to me on YouTube at Hollywood Shug React Show. Appreciate y'all support. Love you guys. Till the next time. Peace. We out of here. Be safe.